In the midst of the 19th century, Northern California was pestered by a highwayman that became known as a gentleman bandit. Not only did he dress in style and eschew cursing, but he occasionally left a poem after he had robbed a stagecoach. And while these poems weren't necessarily literary delights, they did earn him the nickname Black Bart the Poet. This poetic highwayman referred to himself as Black Bart, and only a few close friends knew him by his real name, Charles Boles. He was known throughout California by the name he signed his verses with, and was one of the most eccentric and successful highwaymen that had ever held up a stagecoach in California. His origins are unclear, though he came from New York State and somehow ended up in the gold camps of California during the California Gold Rush in late 1849. He used to be a schoolteacher, a stylish man, well educated and with a sharp wit. Now, that sounds like his life would have been forgotten in the story that is history, as so many other average lives have been forgotten. And it would have been, had it not been for his sense of humor. There are multiple versions of the first stagecoach robbery by Bolles. One version tells that after a working day at school, Bolles was on his way home when he saw a stagecoach approaching, driven by a friend of his. Bolles got the idea to pull a good prank on him. He covered his face with a handkerchief, put his hand in the pocket of his coat as if he had a gun, and walked out of some bushes in front of his stagecoach, forcing the stagecoach to a halt, and pretended to rob him. Before Bolles could explain that it was a joke, the driver had already handed over the strongbox and rushed away. So what do you do in such a situation? Bolles now was in possession of a strongbox that he had not really wanted, and if he would try to go down to the sheriff's station to hand it over and explain it, it probably wouldn't work out too well for him. It didn't take Bolles too long to decide to keep the box, and he discovered that the robbery earned him about $160. The next thing he did was to go to San Francisco, open up a bank account under the name of Charles Bolton, and see how much exactly this whole stagecoach robbery gig could earn him. He left his career as a teacher and pursued his newfound fruitful one. As the robberies processed and his wealth increased, he dressed the act, purchasing a golden cane and a stylish suit, all the while telling people that might ask that he was in the mining business. A very successful mining business, that is. Eventually he got so far that he joined the San Francisco Gentlemen's Club and started to become acquainted to some large names in the actual mining business. Thanks to these newly found acquaintances, Bolles was provided with the schedules of stagecoaches arriving with the right kind of cargo. As he was refining his robbing routine, he cut out 2 holes of a flour sack, took with him a shotgun that he never loaded as he wasn't too keen on accidentally harming anyone, and a crowbar to open strong boxes. The sack over his head, his long linen cloak, and his courteous behavior became his trademarks. He would apply the same tactic of holding up stagecoaches, prying open the strong box with a crowbar, taking the contents and leaving. All of this would take about a minute. During his entire career as a highwayman from 1875 to 1883, he robbed at least 27 stagecoaches. 28 was the one that caused his downfall. The coach had a guard with a shotgun riding with them, and when Bolles held up the coach, he received a load of buckshot instead of the strongbox. Bolles was hit at least once in the hand, and while he got away, he dropped several personal belongings: a derby hat, field glasses, a magnifying glass, and a white handkerchief. The handkerchief led to his arrest. You see, the handkerchief was marked with FX07 by the laundry place. After detectives that were put on the case, James B. Hume and Harry N. Morse, investigated, they managed to trace it to Ferguson and Biggs' California Laundry, where they received more information about Bolles. When they traced the so-called business trips Bolles embarked on, they realized these trips were made around the same time, to the same locations the robberies took place. Bolles was subsequently arrested and spent 4 years in St. Quentin, which he set out. Soon after his release, though, the robberies started again. It is said that Wells Fargo, at the time owning the largest stagecoach empire in the world, was fed up with the robberies. They traced Bolles and offered him a proposition. They would pay him $200 a month if he would cease his robberies. As Bolles was 60 by now, perhaps he took the deal, as ever since the robberies had stopped. However, this is just a rumor. All we know is that the last sighting of Charles Bolles, or Black Bart, was on the 28th of February, 1888. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, he was often referred to as Black Bart the Poet due to the short verses he left at the robbery scenes, which he signed with Black Bart. Well, they weren't Shakespeare-tier poems, as Bolles acknowledged himself in the following verse. "Blame me not for what I have done, I don't deserve your curses, and if for some cause I must be hung, let it be for my verses." Black Bart. And that's the story of Black Bart. There are many more interesting stories of eccentric characters of the Wild West, but I'll leave those for another time. Thank you for watching this video, and is there a person or event from the Wild West that you would like to know more about and perhaps see a video of? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to this channel. See you next time.